Millie is saying our voices are too low. I don't know at what point. Is it when we started? Can the rest confirm that they are hearing our voices loud and clear? Morina said yes, very loud and clear. Then it means that your end has a problem. You have to exit and come back.
Or if it's volume, just add volume.
Very clear. So you can see.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Excellent. So thank you very much for that. And just to just quickly run over, this is Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. My name is Grace Nzula, and I am your host. And at Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, we demystify issues that affect employers and employees and the society at large every now and then. And of course, we have our partners that we give a shout out to. And of course, we have Richard and Catherine Sidandi. And tonight, we are going to discuss father wounds. And we are privileged to have a wonderful, amazing speaker who has actually written a book and does a lot of work around parenting. And so tonight, we want to learn from Aisha on how do we get father wounds and possibly how can we heal from them. And so allow me to invite the author, mentor, and counselor, Madam Aisha, to tell us more about fatherhood.
Thank you so much, Grace and Richard. I'm very delighted to be here this evening. I'm looking forward to the discussion. I already feel at home because I saw people from Tanzania. I saw people from Uganda. I saw people from Kenya. I live in Tanzania. I'm Ugandan and West African and have lots of friends from Kenya. So I feel at home on this platform. Looking forward and excited to be able to engage on this topic that's very close to my heart. My name is Aisha Pule, and I am Ugandan. I am a mother, a wife, and a businesswoman that runs events, and author too of How I Found My Father. And that's the brief concerning myself. I have 25 minutes to discuss the father wound, so I will get right into it. My dad was from Mali. He came to Uganda in the 1970s, and they got married. At the time, he came as a businessman. He then traveled to the neighboring countries to do business. He was doing trading. And when the 1978 Uganda-Tanzania war broke out, for those of us who may be here and remember, then it was difficult to come back into the country. He tried, he couldn't. He flew to Hong Kong. And when he went to Hong Kong, did a bit of business and then went back to West Africa, which is where he was. He didn't settle in Mali, he settled in Accra in Ghana and died at 75 years old. He left my mom expecting me during that war, and that's how I got to grow up without a father. That's the background. Now, when did I first find out that I actually had a father wound? I found out that I had a father wound when I was already married, when I had kids. Fully grown adult is when I started my healing journey. That tells you that a father wound shows up in unexpected places, in very critical areas in your life. And that's why this discussion is very close to my heart. And I'm glad that, Grace, you've given a platform for this to be discussed. It will show up in your marriage. It will show up at the workplace. Yes, at the workplace. My husband always tells me he's been in top management for the last 15 years with multinationals. And we always have this discussion, and he always tells me, Aisha, 70% of the HR challenges we have in the workplace is simply a case of bad parenting. People take absentee fathers, absentee mother issues or wounds, and then they simply take them to the workplace because we spend 80% of our time, 70% of our time on a daily basis, on a weekly basis in the workplace. And so this is a very important topic. When, again, did I meet the father wound? That was when I was way older. How do we get into a situation where we get a father wound? Now, I've come up with two schools of identity. The father wound affects mainly your identity in life. It doesn't affect your physical health. It may not affect other areas of your life, but does affect your identity. We have a core identity that we were born with, and I believe this identity is loving. It wants to be loved. It will accept love. It's emotionally balanced. It has a strong decision-making ability. But when we have the father wound, then we develop coping mechanisms in life in order to be able to deal with this wound. It's internal, we don't see it, but the fact that it's internal doesn't mean it's not there. When you have a broken leg, when you have a wound on your head, when you have a wound on your leg, you want to go to the hospital and deal with it. But many of us who have father wounds, because they're hidden, they're internal, we never get to see them. We never get to actually know that maybe the way we are behaving or what's going on with us is actually due or has a root cause of the father wound. And from your core identity, then you begin to learn how to cope with this wound. That's what I call the learned identity. That's a fake identity. That's not who you are, because you've learned to cope with this part of you. You may know it, you may not know it, but you will still act the way this wound would have you act. You may not know that you're acting out of that wound. How do we get father wounds? We get father wounds if we were abandoned when we were children. We get father wounds if your father passed, you were very young, neglected your emotional needs, your physical needs. We get father wounds if we were sexually abused by our fathers, or we were sexually abused, but our fathers were not there to be able to protect us. We can also get a father wound, highly likely to get a father wound if your own father had a father wound. You're highly likely to get a father wound if your parents have gone through divorce and you don't have the paternal affirmation, you don't have men around you that can take on the role of a father in your life. We also get father wounds if our fathers are highly critical of us as we grow up. Sometimes that's even worse than not having seen your father at all, like it was for my case. A father wound is an emotional and psychological injury that happens due to lack of a connection with a father figure in your life, a healthy connection with a father figure in your life. Your thinking capacity is affected, your emotions are affected, your decision-making ability or strength is affected, but you never realize it again unless you get into the parenting space, unless you get into the workspace, unless you get into relationships. And that's now when those signs begin to show. If someone doesn't tell you you have a father wound, you may just think this is normal. When I began to write my book, a friend that did the first edit told me, have you read about temperaments? And I said, yes, I've read about temperaments my whole life. Maybe this is because of temperaments. I disagree to a very large extent because of my personal experience. How did the father wound show up in my own life? I'm here not to speak as an expert, but to speak from experience mainly. When you have a father wound and you grew up with either a distant or abusive or unavailable father, you have issues, especially as a female, you have issues mainly with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, very insecure. This was me for the longest time until a few years ago when I began to notice that this could actually be the source of how I was feeling, how I was behaving. You find it difficult to take compliments. You find it difficult to be loved. You self-reject from relationships very easily. When I met people and we began relating, romantic relationships, the next thing you're waiting for is, when am I going to be rejected? When is this person going to walk out of the relationship? When are they actually going to cheat on me? You see, lacking a father figure a healthy connection of a father figure in your life rewires your brain completely. You begin to think differently. You begin to see life differently. Your life is colored differently. You always come from a very negative place because you feel like you lost control when you were young. You feel like you blame yourself for what happened, even when you had no part in what happened. You begin to have issues with control. Most of us have issues being controlling, and we think, it's normal. I just need to make sure everything is okay. But sometimes when it's excessive, then you need to check. Is it that you lost control when you were young? Are you thinking that adult wins are going to net off childhood losses because you didn't have a father, because you didn't have someone to protect you? Now you go into self-preservation mode, and now you want to control everything and everyone around you. You are insecure, you overthink things. Someone can just say one thing and you will not take it for what it is. You will begin to think about 100 other things that could be related to it from a very negative perspective. You are someone that doesn't take compliments kindly. You will try to explain compliments away. You'll try to shy away from compliments. You begin to self-reject even in marriage. It doesn't matter how much they tell you they love you in marriage. It doesn't matter how much your spouse tells you they love you in marriage, you begin to self-reject. So when I got married, I loved my husband, he loved me, but we had to go on a journey of therapy for a long time because I didn't feel like I was worthy. I didn't feel like I was worthy to be in that marriage, worthy to be loved. And I had to get to a point when I was in the healing process where I had to tell myself, if my husband tells me he loves me, it means he actually loves me. That's how your brain gets rewired when you don't have a father figure in your life. Lack of a father figure will also show up in the workplace. And how does it show up in the workplace? Number one, you have a sense of entitlement. You think that you are entitled to benefits that you didn't work for. Why? Because you think that, something was taken away from you, so everyone owes you something. You begin to bleed on people that never cut you, like they say out there. You begin to expect that people should treat you a certain way. You're entitled to being treated a certain way because, you're not thinking it's because you're the orphan or because you were abused but you begin to expect that treatment. And if you cannot be able to look and self-introspect on how you behave around other people, teamwork becomes difficult in the workplace because you think you're entitled to behave anyhow and everyone should take it. That means you're creating an unhealthy environment for your workmates. You are rebellious to authority. I don't know how many times in the workplace I had to be told that, my boss is actually the boss. There's a line of command, there's hierarchy. And even if my boss is not right, I need to do what I do respectfully. I always had a better idea than my boss. I always had a better idea than my husband. I always had a better idea than my pastor at the church I went to. You were not helped to know that these are the boundaries that you need to respect authority. And that's usually the role of a father in a home growing up. And from the studies, from the research that we have done, you find that those that grew up in a home where a father figure was present, a father figure actually laid out discipline rules and said, these are the boundaries, this is how far you can go, clear expectations, clear boundaries, of course, within love, within a loving environment. Those people will be very great team players at a workplace because when they go, they know that there are boundaries. They learned to respect authority. It doesn't matter what the authority is like. I'm not saying the father was perfect. I'm just saying that they learned to respect authority when they were young. And so they know it doesn't matter if my boss is rude. It doesn't matter if my boss is wrong. But I need to respect authority. You never learned that at that stage when you were younger. Those who never saw their fathers or had terrible relationships with their fathers or were abused by their own fathers procrastinate a lot. You fear making mistakes because you're always blaming self for what happened to you. Had nothing to do with that, but then you feel like, you know what, if I try this, if I step out, or if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm not saying that all procrastination comes from that space, but it hinders you. It stops you from going forward because then you're thinking, you know what, I may fail. I failed already. I didn't have control over my circumstances. So what makes me think I'm going to pass this one? You think that you don't have a father because you failed, because you could have done better, because you always have this twisted negative way of thinking about why your father did not stay in your life, why your father didn't want you. So you begin to procrastinate. You don't understand lines of command. Like I said, you can't play teamwork. You're rebellious to authority. So like I said in the beginning, when we are not shown the way by a father at home, when we're not shown discipline, when we're not shown boundaries in a home, when we're not shown respect, for a line of command in a home, then what happens is that we will take it into the marriage, we will take it into our places of worship, we will take it into places of work, we will take it into our careers. You think you're entitled to this, you think you can behave anyway, and it should be acceptable, it should be accepted, which I think brings me to what do we do as people that are in the workspace, HR managers, owners of businesses. I think this is a discussion that needs to come back to the table. I think that, for example, for an HR person, if the person that brings you the insurance or the company that bids for insurance doesn't have therapy, they don't have counseling for your people, then that's not insurance to take, because we treat so many diseases, but your bottom line, your financial results at the end of the year, your EBIT is actually never going to supersede the emotional health of your staff at the workplace. If your staff or your team is not emotionally or psychologically healthy or balanced, then your results are going to equal the strength of that team. So we push numbers, we push KPIs, but you're struggling with people that are actually damaged. Their brains have been rewired. When you look at the statistics, they tell you that 85% of those that we find in prison had an absent father. 40% of preschoolers that are actually sexually abused is because they did not have a father figure at home that actually made their presence known. And so those who come to do this know, you know what, this person has no protection. 70% of teen births right now, they can be traced back to the fact that these teenagers had absent fathers growing up. So the issue of an absent father is something, again, that needs to come back to the table for discussion. I went through my healing much later in my life because I'd had lots of hemorrhage relationships, was going through therapy in my marriage, and that's when I discovered, you know what, I'm entitled, I'm opinionated, I'm controlling in this marriage because I am trying to protect myself and self-preserve, and yet I have a husband who can do all those things. I wasn't willing to let go. I went through my healing. It's a very personal journey of faith, like I talk about in my book. And if I had not found my Heavenly Father, I would not be in the place that I am today. I would not be talking about what I'm talking about today. And that was a personal journey. When fathers in society don't step up the plate to be fathers, then what happens is you have a lot of damage in the community. You have a lot of damage in schools. Yesterday, but we had a graduation party for my daughter, and she had a friend whose parents didn't show up. So my husband walks up and says, "Where are your parents?" And he says, "No, they've gone off to another event, another graduation party of my sister." My husband came back home and asked me, and said, "Couldn't one parent have stayed, for the graduation of this boy?" That's a wound, and a wound that, may affect this child in future. And my husband just told him, "You know what, I'm proud of you as a father. Congratulations, you've studied hard, you deserve this. And even if mama and papa are not here, but I'm here, and I want to say congratulations and that you deserve this." There are so many kids out there that need fatherhood, that need parenting. It doesn't have to be your biological child. So just to call on the fathers to be available in our communities, to call on the human resource practitioners or those that are in the career space to put structures in place that are going to be able to help people like that, because sometimes they don't know that that's what they are dealing with. Sometimes you have strife in your team and it's coming from this one person. Why? They just have to compete. They just have to seek for approval in all the wrong places. They will overwork. They will try to be a perfectionist, which I was. You're trying to perfect that wasn't perfect in your childhood when you're an adult. And so it's a mess, because then again, you keep affecting everyone around you and you don't realize. So as I conclude, Grace, I just want to say that it's possible to heal from the fatherhood wound. It's possible to set up structures in society that can help us be able to help people that are affected by the father wound. And it's possible to raise the alarm so that we have more of these discussions, that mothers are not, busy telling children telling fathers in front of children how they should be disrespected. You disrespect a man before the child. It doesn't matter what issues you have as a couple. It doesn't matter what is going on between the two of you. That's going to affect the child in the long run. If it's a case of abuse, that's different. But for mothers to be able to respect fathers before the children, so that the children can in turn respect fathers. When they respect fathers in turn, it means that then they are able to receive from these fathers. They can be able to respect them and be able to hear the discipline. A father in our life is someone that will discipline you, someone that will challenge you, someone that will call out the greatness that's hidden on the inside of you. Only a father can be able to do that. Now, I know that there are people that, they're going to be surrogate moms. Some of them are freezing their eggs, and it's understandable why they do what they do. There's a reason why they've gotten to that point, but there's no one who can father a child without a seed, who can get a child without a seed from the father. And so whether you like it or not, life comes from a father. A father is the one who will speak of, never mind, you can call him dumb, you can call him poor, there's something that's within a father that God gave that capacity to only a man, a father, to be able to, a woman cannot be able to do it. You can try as much as you can. God gave us to be nurturers. That's what we do. That's what we do best. You don't have the capacity to father a child, even if you tried. Your next door neighbor, who's a man, who's a father, will be able to father that child better than you think you can. So fathers give life. Fathers challenge us to be our best. They bring the best out of us. Sometimes when men are disciplining children at home, as mothers, we feel like, no, I want to protect my child. Maybe the discipline is necessary. This is where people grow up. There was no discipline at all, and everything goes. There's impatience. There's addictions coming in. Why? Because the discipline, the patience, those virtues were not built into the child at the time that they were supposed to be built into the child. So whether we accept it or not, whether we like it or not, the father is the one that gives life to a child. The father is the one that challenges the child to be better. The father is the one that will discipline the child into the stature that the child is supposed to be. The father is the one that's going to mentor the child. Yes, we mothers can mentor, but there's something that was God-given by a father that we cannot be able to fight with. So as I conclude, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me. It was very short and brief. I hope I haven't gone over my time, Grace. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to the rest of the discussion. Wishing you all a lovely evening. Asante.
Thank you, Aisha. Don't sign off yet. We will give you an opportunity to sign off. For all of you who are asking whether they are mother wounds, I am telling you the mother wounds are worse than the father wounds. And we only started with father wounds because, first of all, it was Father's Day on Sunday. And second of all, it is also one that is not rarely spoken to, but it is quite it has some serious effect on how we grow up. If you have listened to Aisha, you can tell. But mother wound actually affects us so easily. so easily, and how and mostly mother wound is also referred to as neglect wound, and that's also to some extent the trust wound. So yes, for those who are asking whether we have mother wound, yes, we do, and we will bring you a conversation on mother wound one of these fine days. So please keep it tuned and keep it here, and we are going to make sure that you get that. We want to do probably this will be a series. I got a lot of beating about this, and I think I think men are feeling like they are under attack. But I tell you, our intention is to create awareness. Our intention is to it's to inform you, so that not because we want to pick on you and not because we want you to become impossible, but because we want you to do better. We want you to know the impact of your presence in your children's lives is or has to the society. So please don't take this as an attack. Please take it as a learning experience, and just choose to do better, and choose to parent your children better. Choose to do better. I mean, and don't worry if you have not been able to. But Aisha, we have quite a number of questions here, and I will start by asking. Okay, so I think I've answered the first one. Do we have mother wounds? Yes, we do. Are experiences applicable to the mother wound? Yes and no. There is the role of the mother and the father. And we will allow us to not belabor on mother wound, because we may not be able to finish that, but allow us to discuss father wound, and then we will let you know the next time we are having a mother wound, because that will come, and it will come very soon. I see the need to do that at this point in time. So don't worry, before 15th of July, we shall have had a session on mother wounds. But however, let's see the questions. Aisha, are you ready for the questions?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. My daughter says she doesn't keep friends, or her friends are not trusting. Should she have had a father issue since he died when she was only 8 months old? Do I need to take her for therapy? She is informed too. That means she's about 16 years.
Okay, thank you for the question. Can I just ask for her to reiterate her question? Is she saying it's the daughter who's not trusting, or it's the friends who are not trusting?
It's the daughter.
Okay, all right. So I'll just give my personal experience.
Like she's not, I think she's not able to trust her friends, or they are not loyal, something like that. But yeah, maybe she can clarify. I don't know what that means.
No, it's okay. I already get it. I think I get her question. Okay. So I grew up with a lot of mistrust, and I didn't know where this mistrust was coming from. I had a lot of fights with my husband in the beginning of my marriage, because everything led to a place where I didn't trust him. And he said, I didn't do anything. I didn't give you a reason to mistrust me, but I was always just waiting, just to mistrust him, just to say, you know what, I told you so. And it came to my friendships. And again, I was always waiting. Will they walk away? Are they actually waiting to hurt me? Did she say what she said because she didn't? So what the child is actually dealing with is insecurity, lots of insecurity on the inside, and it will show up when she grows up. The fact that the dad died when he was 8 months, she's not had a father figure in her life to be able to affirm her. You're looking for paternal affirmation. Paternal affirmation is beautiful. When a man figure, in my book, I discuss the men in my life that have told me, you know what, you will make it. You are beautiful. You are this, you are that. Those things have never left my mind. I know my mom told me so many things. I can't remember half of them before she died. But I know that whatever any father that I found wasn't biological fathers that I found on my path in life. When they told me those things take me up to today. There's a time I was organizing a church retreat, and I think my pastor at the time in Kampala, Full Gospel Church, told me, you know what, Aisha, you're like a bulldozer. When you begin a project, you don't stop until you finish this project. Up to today, I'd never had that from a father. No one had ever told me that. So I'm like, so that's who I am. So when I start a project, if I'm about to get to a place where I'm going to drop the ball, I remember, no. My pastor said I could actually finish this. So she's dealing with insecurity. And if you'd find her someone that can be able to speak to her, but more important than the therapist may not take the role of a mentor. She needs a man in her life. It doesn't have to be your husband. It doesn't have to be someone that's close to you. It just has to be someone that you admire, someone that understands this wound and can be able to take her on and tell her, you're beautiful, you are amazing, so that she's not always waiting for the next person that she will distrust, because she'll distrust. That happened in my relationships. And unfortunately, I think many of my relationships fell by the wayside. You cannot be able to hold relationships because you're so insecure. You're always, walking on eggshells, and people feel it. And it gets tiring. It gets emotionally tiring to be around someone who is very sensitive and insecure. It's a very difficult relationship to keep. They don't have the confidence. I've met friends that had fathers in their lives, whether they were in a good relationship, whether they'd lost a job, whether there's something about their confidence that I look at and I'm like, you know what, this is what a father's affirmation does. So yes, she is insecure. That could be the root. If she would find a dad to mentor her and speak into her life, it doesn't matter what age she is.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Somebody's asking, is this being recorded? Yes, we're going to be sharing our recording. It will be on our YouTube, Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. And answer the other question. We have quite a number of questions, Aisha. I hope you have braced yourself. Maxwell says, I don't know, Max Motetti says, father wound. Could this be another ploy to the world to demonize men? Is there a mother wound? I think I answered that. I am a lady, by the way, but I think when we give so much energy to these men issues, it demonizes men and does not allow men to be themselves in the family or community. I actually feel sorry for the man, any man listening to this, just wondering if they are being projected onto. I hope not. Our intention is actually to create awareness. And no, this is not applied. This has been there. I don't know whether you've ever heard people talk about a girl with daddy issues. That is what they used to refer to as daddy issues. And probably maybe as you learn more and you can go and do your own research and discover what this actually means, because for us, we are creating awareness, but it's unto you to actually go and read more about it. Aisha, who is mostly affected by the father wound? Is it a lady or men or gents? And how should one approach a mother who has never disclosed their dad to their child? You know those stories of your dad was hit by a lorry?
So I think both females and males are actually affected by a father wound. Females, it would mainly be psychological issues. There are statistics that are very clear that 60% or more of people that have depressive symptoms, mental health issues, are traced back to an absent father. For men, it will be a behavior issue, whether it's addictions, right? Whether it's anger issues, control issues. So both of them, I can't say who is more affected, but I know that, for example, women, it's mainly low self-esteem that really, really hits them badly. They just are never confident. They're just never confident until, they build that confidence, until they go through the healing. Even then, it's almost a lifetime of going through the healing. I don't agree with the person that said that, are we trying to project on men? I think this discussion is actually lifting up men. It's saying the fathers are needed, the men are needed, because we have a society that is saying, kick them out, they're not needed, the women can do it. No, they can't. So we are actually saying we need the fathers, we need the men, they're important to us, they're important to the children, right? I grew up in a home where my grandma and my uncle on my mom's side, because that's who I grew up with after my dad left during the war, that they really never told me straight and said, this was your dad. It was just little stories that came out, around the tea table once in a while. And then you realize, when you're 6, you know what, my dad actually left. Oh, okay, he was from West Africa, somewhere in West Africa. But they never really wanted to talk about it. I think the fear for them is always that you're going to ask more questions. They'll not be able to answer your questions. It's going to hurt you. So they think they're protecting you, right? But if a father is alive, he's not abusive, and he's well able to have some form of contact with a child, I'd say that mothers should honestly let the children contact their dads. I had an uncle that looked after me. I then lived with a Norwegian guardian, my high school and my university years. But The day that my husband, I guess by divine luck or whatever you want to call it, got a job in West Africa, and I happened to connect with my father's family, something was put at rest. The emotional storm that I was feeling on the inside, when we actually got back, at that time we're living in Rwanda, my husband told me, something has changed within you when you met your father's family. Something happens because you're always looking for a sense of belonging. You're always trying to identify who you are, like, who am I? Where do I come from? The father is the one that gives you your identity. So it will be important for the mother to actually let the children have contact with the dad as much as is reasonably possible. If there's abuse, that's a different issue altogether. But if it's a normal relationship they have now, you have dads that are present but absent. Then you have dads that are probably not resident in a house, but the time they spend, whether it's on phone, whether it's, once in a while, but it's quality time. The child has positive memories of that father. That's so much better than a father who lives in a house but has no connection, or is very critical, or is quite abusive to the children. So I'd say that for those moms out there, I've heard of those stories, but I advocate for mothers to let children have contact with their fathers because it does something for them.
That's very, very true. I totally agree. There was a question from somebody who is in, oh yeah, here we are. I am 21. All my years, my dad was never present, and I see it affecting me till today. I am afraid to fall into relationship. I also find myself less trusting with assumption this will be the scenario as my dad did to me. I think I should try healing process, but I have fear of if I heal, then I feel the heavier way of the pain I have been through. And you see, mine was both parents. You see, mine was both parents. Oh God. Where is that one? Mine was both parents. Oh God, where is that one? Both parents, see, mine was both parents were absent. How do I go about this? I hope that is the question. In such a case, what step should I take? Aisha.
Okay, thank you for the question. I'm glad you're able to share. Thank you, Grace, again, for opening up this platform. So I would say that a wound is a wound. Just like you have a wound on your hand, if you leave it unattended, you're going to attract flies, you're going to attract germs, you're going to attract all forms of bacteria, it's going to fester, pus is going to come in there. Unfortunately, that's what happens with a father wound. It's more internal, and it's worse because it affects every area of your life. So now you are afraid to relate, but your fear to relate has nothing to do with those people that want to relate with you. They probably love you. They're probably attracted to you. They think you're an amazing young lady. They think they want to have a life with you. That's what they're thinking. On this side, you're afraid because of what happened in the past. A wound is a wound. We cannot go around a wound. Feelings buried alive don't die. So if you have this mistrust, you have these feelings of insecurity, you feel like, what happened with your dad? These are live examples of actually what we go through, the people that have experienced it. And I can totally relate with you. That wound on the inside actually needs healing. And that's something that I cannot answer on this call. I would be willing to have a one-on-one with you if that's okay, with your Grace. I can be able to have a one-on-one with her, but I know that until I engaged my faith, until I engaged the wound healer, the wound was there and the wound was affecting me, and I was behaving and affecting everyone around me because of that wound. So this has nothing to do with the people that want to come into your life. Clearly, it's an internal issue that you have to deal with, and I'd be willing to walk through this with you if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, Aisha. In fact, I have quite a number of people asking, how can we get your book and how much is it?
Okay, all right. I'll give you the details maybe after the call.
Yeah. Okay, sawa. And then I see Edward saying thank you for amplifying the role of a father. And that is our mission here, Edward. In fact, I now wish I said, do you understand the importance of the role fathers play? But Caroline says, what do you do in cases where the father of your children never asks to see them, like they aren't interested in the children?
Okay, all right. Now, those are many, unfortunately. But what I would say is this, is that I'll keep referring back to my faith. There's no me without my faith. God has given us so many fathers in society. And if the man has said, no, I don't want to do anything, I don't want anything to do with the children, most probably that person is also hurting. They're broken. They have their own father wounds, and hence they disconnect. I spent the first maybe 7 to 6 years of my life with my children, 4 of them. I was completely detached from them. I was living in a house with them. I was working for the shipping line, Maersk Line. I was, we were providing with my husband, but never spent time with them. Had amazing house help at home, almost like a second mother. So I thought, oh, life is good, until I moved to Ghana and I began to see the cracks and saw, okay, I actually don't bond with these children. I don't spend time with my children. I don't get to know each of them, separately. So when people had a detachment from their own parents, it's very difficult. They don't know how to do this, so they will carry on that cycle. What would I say to that? I'd advise you to find role models in society, men that you think would be willing to actually play that role and do it with intentionality. Be able to take out the girls and the boys, be able to spend time with them, even if it's once a month. They'll always remember that voice. Be able to do some things that maybe their father, it may not be provision, but that voice in their lives is very important. There are so many men in society that are willing to do that. I and my husband, we have friends and families where, that's a single mom, but we see this boy is struggling with addiction, and we know that he's simply trying to find a sense of identity and belonging, and he cannot be able to figure out why the father doesn't want him. And you know what? We will reach out, we will make time. We will say, okay, this is a critical moment for them. Maybe they are going into exams, or they're in their teenage years or something like that. And he will spend time with them. They will ask questions. He will be there. There are fathers all around us. The one thing that we can never tell God when one day when we see him is that, you know what, you didn't give me a father, because there were fathers everywhere, whether it's around the faith places where we go to worship, whether it's in the workspace, whether it's friends, whether it's neighbors. If you care to look, you'll find someone that's willing to be able to say, you know what, I will mentor this child. I'll be able to speak into this girl's life. So find fathers around you that can be able to be the voice of reason as a father in their lives. And I think that should help. That should go a long way, because you cannot force the father to be able to come back into their lives. One thing I tell mothers is that you can only pray for him. Maybe one day God will open his eyes, but find fathers around you. They're always around you. There's always provision around you. Just don't see them as fathers, and they will not be perfect, but they will be what your children need for the season that they're in.
Father figures. Yeah, we have what? In therapy, I was told that a lady who does not grow up with a dad will get into relationships expect to get a father figure, which can be frustrating for the spouse, hence have many failed relationships. That's a comment. And there's somebody saying, are there challenges in regards to when father wounds? I am assuming that is when father wounds. I don't know what you're asking, my friend, the anonymous one. I lost him when I was 2 years. I don't understand your question. What is the implications on the father wounds when molding one's career? Okay, so yeah, what is the effect when it comes to career on father wounds?
Okay, thank you for the question. Father wounds will lead you to a space where sometimes you're not confident of what you can do in the workspace. Like, again, you feel like you blame yourself for so many things that happened in your life. It's just the way it happens. You feel like, you self-blame for what happened. And so there's no confidence sometimes to take on what you're supposed to take on. like I said, without a father in your life, there's no discipline, there's no sense of boundary around you growing up. You don't know that this is a line of command. So obviously you find yourself rebellious to people that should be in leadership. You're not being able to respect the lines of command that have been put there. You have that sense of entitlement sometimes, like I said, and then you procrastinate. So it affects you in different ways. But I think if you are aware of the way it might affect you, I think that's preemptive. Then you know, up to now, there are ways I will react. There's someone who was talking about the fact that they were looking for a father in marriage. Sometimes I am thinking, okay, this is what I missed out. So I need, for my husband to be this and to do this. So you turn, you're not a bride anymore. You're now a child. You become a child, and it becomes exhausting because then he didn't marry a daughter. He married a bride. So I have to speak to myself and say, no, you're a wife. You're not a child in this relationship. This is not the place where you get back what you lost. Go to God and find it. So same as the workplace. I think you begin to speak to yourself in those times and you know what? Am I behaving in a way that projects my father wounds onto others? Am I behaving in a way that hurts others? And it's because of my internal wounds that I'm behaving like this. So I think it becomes preemptive. Then you can be able to change or correct your behavior. So I think that's, once you're aware of it, I think awareness is the beginning. Like I say, once you face your reality that this is my reality personally, I grew up without a father and I feel like I'm insecure. I feel like I'm controlling. I feel like I cannot be able to last in relationships sometimes because of the insecurities within me. Then you begin to make steps towards healing. Then you begin to change your behavior externally. But first, of course, once you go through the healing on the inside. So I think the fact that he's aware of it now and he knows, I think it makes everything better because then you begin to think, how do I begin my healing journey?
Yeah, you're right. And I think one of the other topics that we really need to get into is parentification, in terms of a golden child and the effect that has. Because some of it I can see has twist to that. Anyway, and Annette is saying, I grew up with a single dad because my mom died when I was 14. He was caring and loved us so much. I was able to experience his struggles due to some mistakes he had made. I am currently facing challenges with my partner because he says I have an ego. I want us to discuss every decisions we are to undertake. Could it be father wound? That sounds like a mother wound, but Annette, you're the expert. Aisha.
Hello?
Yes. Did you hear the question?
No, just repeat that question.
There's a question who says, I grew up with a single dad because my mom died when I was 14. He was caring and loved us so much, and I was able to experience his struggles due to some mistakes he had made. Currently, I'm facing challenges with my partner because he says I have an ego. I want us to discuss every decisions we are to undertake. Could it be father wounds? And I see Harendra Patel is saying, at times the father wounds create false ego in the children, and growing up girls might end up inheriting, especially for those raised by father and probably brothers. This is my experience and what I see during therapy. Yes, tell us, Aisha.
Absolutely. I think Patel is right. He's right on. Sometimes that happens on the other end of the spectrum. But I think that this again, she has to sit with herself. Why is she fighting on every decision they're making with a partner? Sometimes if both of us are going to fight about every decision, then I don't see where the relationship is going. She needs to sit back and think, can I be secure enough in this relationship without having to make a decision? That's a sense of power, I believe. That's a sense where you give away your power to someone else and you say, you know what, for the sake of the relationship, let me, back down on this. Let them be able to carry the decision. I don't think it's going to kill you. If it's not something major in the relationship, I think sometimes it's just sitting back and saying, okay, can I be able to give? Can I be able to sit back and, sit this out and let him make the decision? So it could be, again, the topic we're discussing is quite deep. It's taken me years to get to the point where I am, and this is not something we can answer her in this session. Like Patel is saying, you have to sit out with the person and hear them out. Give us an example of one of the fights you're having. When they give you the exact example, the details of what they're fighting about, it's always very easy to tell, to know, what, maybe this is a father wound, this is a mother wound, or this is just a case of, what, can we just agree that this is how this relationship is going to go? Maybe there's no wound at all,
Yeah. You're right. And what happens with those who grew up with stepdads who are demeaning and abusive inwardly? That is individually, making advances secretly and making a mother treat you as a villain.
Well, that obviously causes a father wound, because then the father in your life at that point in time, who's supposed to be your dad, your stepdad, is not protecting you. You don't have a healthy relationship with them. So it causes that wound on the inside of you, and it would count the same. So what happens to those? It's the same wound that you have to come out for healing, whether you choose to go for therapy, whether you choose to just look up resources online that can be able to help you. It's the same wound that we're talking about. There's no difference. If I have a stepfather, if I have a father that's abusive or stepfather that's abusive, I think in this case it becomes worse, because then the mother was an accomplice in all this by not protecting this girl, because then, the stepfather is making advances and the mother is not doing anything about it. That's now another level of hurt that I think they actually need help. They actually need help beyond this session.
You're right. I know this is not a conversation we can actually finish today. And I hope that you don't go diagnosing yourselves with father wounds or mother wounds. But it's upon you to actually read more about these wounds, because they're real, actually. And they actually affect quite a lot of aspects of your life. But you are able to become a better parent if you can heal from your own wounds. And I think that is our call to action currently. So Aisha, you can tell us how to find your book.
Yeah, okay. My book is on Amazon. I'll be able to send you the link. Maybe you can share it on your platforms, Grace. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, it's on Draft to Digital. And then in Kampala, we do physical deliveries. It's not yet physically in Nairobi, but it will be there very soon. We are having more printed out for Tanzania and for Kenya, but in Kampala, there are physical deliveries. I'll share the number with you. And it's online. There's an ebook on Amazon. There's a physical book that they can deliver to you from Amazon. So that's very expensive. If you're in Nairobi and you need the book, we can be able to make arrangements to get it to you. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's David who was asking about your address in Kampala. Maybe you can share that on the chat.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Yeah, you can share that on the chat. Richard,
Yes,
hey, we are further wounding.
Yeah. Aisha, thank you very much for that very captivating presentation that has come from the heart. And the question I could like to ask you is this. When a person wants to help themselves in the father wound treatment, what are the fundamentals should they look at? What are the key things they should look at? Because one of the best things for you to do when you want to heal is to know the symptoms and at least know what treatment. The first aid, for example, some people recommend journaling. Some people recommend writing a letter. What could you recommend?
Okay. So I do recommend, all that is in the book. I do recommend journaling, and that's a very good way of being able to write, because then you take stuff from inside and then it's outside of you now. It's no longer on the inside. I do recommend being able to talk to someone that's mature enough to be able to hear you out. Because some of this stuff, sometimes when you simply talk about that wound, it's halfway towards healing. For the father wound, I think facing your reality is the number one thing that you have to do. Because sometimes we're in denial and we think, I got this, I can be able to live my life. It doesn't matter. No, it really matters, because then it's affecting the relationships around you. So I think to face your reality, to be able to journal, but to be able to, I think pick up your faith is very important, because for me, in the book, I talk a lot about how just finding the healing in the words of the Bible came in literally and healed that wound. And I can talk about the events of the past right now without feeling any ounce of pain at all. I was a very sensitive person. Right now, you tell me something, and you know what? It is what you said. I'm not going to go thinking and overthinking about it. Why? Because the wound is now healed. So I think to be able to take our faith seriously, for me, it was the Bible that really helped. Yeah. And then to be able to talk to someone that's mature enough to also call out your drama, because people that have had a father wound can be dramatic. You know, everything is sensitive. You're very insecure. You don't trust people. You get angry at things you shouldn't be getting angry at. So you need someone that you're secure with, that you know loves you, and you know that when they call out that drama, you're not going to go off, and cut off that relationship, but they'll help you be able to walk through that. So talk to someone, face your reality, and I think be able to ask God to heal that wound, because that wound is internal. I don't think there's medicine anywhere in the hospitals. There's nowhere where you're going to get that medicine. It is something that God has to help you with.
I agree with you. What is the name of your book?
It's called How I Found My Father by Aisha Pule.
Yes. There you go. God Almighty buffer for us and the gaps thrown at us. Yes, Amina, hi, how are you? It's good to see you here. And thank you for the amazing session.
I tried to share my address, but it's not coming.
It's not on the chat?
No, let me try again. I'll also share the book here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you share that, Patel said, for the affected grown children, self-evaluation, self-reflections, and self-awareness need to be worked on. But this can only be done if the affected are given the knowledge on the know-hows, a literate training on how to deal with self and negotiate with the past to live a better future. Thank you for the session. You are welcome. And finally, your parting shot, Aisha, what do you want us to remember you for? Parting shot.
I want you guys to remember that a father wound can be healed, and that if you open it, when you go to a doctor's, they have to open that wound. They will put in spirit and it will hurt a bit. So sometimes the journey won't be easy while you go through your healing, but it's necessary for you to open up this father wound and say, okay, this is what it's like. Turn it on the inside and ask for help from the right sources. Ask for help from the right sources. Like Patel said, I couldn't agree more. To say that, when you know that this is what I'm dealing with, then the journey to healing definitely begins.
Absolutely. I like to Sekile. Greetings from Tanzania. Yeah, this is a beautiful session. I hope we can step up for all the children who need fathers out there. And I agree with you. And for that person who's saying the brothers have stepped in, that is a good thing, because the essence is they don't have to be the biological father, but also be careful so that you also don't invite abusers to get close to your children. So you really need to choose, like, become HR of your people. So thank you so much for joining us, and please join our WhatsApp group. I don't know whether, yes, Jacinta has shared. Join our WhatsApp group to know what's coming up on the Get It Right with Atara Solutions, and that is where we shall give you details once we receive from Aisha on her book and the other details that you may require. So you can join our WhatsApp group and we'll be able to share that. And then if you want to know what's coming up on Get It Right with Atara Solutions, again, we share that on the WhatsApp group. And of course, all our socials, please follow us on Instagram, Atara Solutions, like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. I know today we probably have given you just a brief, and we can see a lot of love and claps on you can see that for you, Aisha. There's a lot of emojis going on there. So thank you for an amazing job. And I am also looking forward to getting your book. If you're in Tanzania, I'll get my friend to pick it up for me. And then I'll pick it in Arusha when we come in for a conference we have in Arusha in August. But I know somebody who can get it to me like yesterday. and I hope he's on the call here. But yes, so thank you so much for your time. Thank you for showing up. And thank you so much for demystifying this interesting and not so interesting topic. And of course, to you, our audience, we cannot do this without you. Asante, asante, asante. Richard and Catherine, you guys are amazing. And it's always a pleasure to be to partner on this journey of Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, as we discuss yet another interesting topic with another amazing speaker. But please don't forget to ask for Aisha's book so that you can read. And please do a lot of research when it comes to father and mother wound. There's a lot. Father wound is the easier one to deal with. Mother wound is even worse because of the womb business and your connection with your mother. It's worse off. But we are gonna have that conversation, and we do not fear, because we are in the business of changing the world through information, one person at a time. Thank you so much. See you next Tuesday. People are asking for her number. Jacinta, I'll send it to you. I'll send Aisha's number to you. Don't worry. Send me a WhatsApp and I'll share it to you. I hope that's okay, Aisha.
That's fine. Perfectly fine.
Sawa sawa. Thank you so much, guys, and have a good night.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Evening falls on cobbled streets. I trace the path beneath my feet, where we once would laugh and talk. Now it's just a solo walk. Leaves are whispering through the air, like they know you're not still there. But your voice stays in the breeze, hidden deep in melodies. I don't cry, I just recall. Not every rise avoids a fall. Some love stays without a name, soft and silent, all the same. Maybe hearts just learn to bend when goodbyes refuse to end. Though you're gone, I've never strayed from the quiet roads we made. I still hum our favorite song, not too loud, it won't be long before the stars begin to show, and I'm bathed in afterglow. Don't